So there's actually 3 successful outcomes that you could have as a business, right? Outcome 1 is a lifestyle business, and life will get better and better and better. But at the same time, life for everyone else is getting worse and worse and worse. It's a man-made idea. Of course I can change it. And the look on his face was just like total shock that I would have the audacity to say, well, if I want to change it, somebody made up a decision. Or high-performing people. They don't just work for anyone. And they certainly don't work for people who are taking time off. There are millions and millions and millions of people in every population who just want to be told what to do. The WEF people are all in their own echo chamber. They think everyone smart agrees with them. They really do. They're just a bunch of idiots. If you meet these people, they're no different to, like, they're not that much cleverer, that much smarter. They're mostly trust fund babies.
Heel leuk, ik heb dit vorige keer al gezegd. Er zijn 4 mannen die een grote invloed hebben gehad op enerzijds mijn zakelijk succes en anderzijds mijn persoonlijke voldoening. Tegenover mij zit een van die 4 mannen. Dus het is een grote eer dat ik hem hier gewoon op Code 49 kan interviewen. Vergeef me ook voor mijn steenkolen Engels, want hij gaat in het Engels zijn. Ik zou zeggen, pak je pen en papier erbij, want dit wordt snel, veel en waardevol. Let's go. Daniel, welcome. I already told you. I really feel that you're one of the reasons why we were able to buy this property, CLUB49. I met you and started following you and taking your advice in 2018. Just been implementing all your lessons, and the result is our 3 companies now that are profitable.
Yeah, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being here.
You did all the work.
I did all the work.
You did all the work.
That's true. That's
Hats
true.
off to you.
But no. Let's take off with this first question then. If you could give someone advice that wants to work really, really hard in their business, but doesn't want to grow. He doesn't want to grow, and I mean this cynical. So what are 3 typical qualities or habits of entrepreneurs that work really hard, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, year in, year out, but their business is not growing, their profits are not growing? If that's their goal,
so how do you do it wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. So the number one thing that you would do is that you would complain and pitch that everything is hard. So you make sure, like, you always pitch for the reality that you want. So if you want to have a hard life, you say, I'm a victim. It's a terrible time. The world is terrible. Life is hard. People don't like what I have to offer.
They don't understand.
They don't understand. I can't change it. Nothing, there's no new products or services that I could try or innovate. The only thing I can do is work hard, and that's the only thing that I can do. There's nothing else that would be.
So that's one.
So pitching.
Yeah.
Pitching for what we always pitch our reality.
Yeah.
The second thing is you would focus only on the supply side of what you do and not on the demand side. So, for example, if you have a business that is a venue, you focus heavily on all the details of the venue, but you don't focus on marketing it. You don't focus on getting people here. You don't focus on making sure people understand the culture and understand the vision for it. You just simply focus on the functional supply of what you do. You don't focus on the dynamic demand creation side of what you do.
Okay, so that's the second thing, focusing on what you have to offer instead of what the market maybe wants.
And the third one is don't use media, don't use technology, don't use data.
Be invisible.
Right? Do not develop intellectual property. Do not develop media assets. Do not develop any software assets or utilize any software assets. Definitely don't use AI.
Okay. So, don't use AI. Bridge to the next question, maybe. In your opinion, what are the biggest challenges that we entrepreneurs are going to face in the next 3 years?
So the world is going through a massive change at the moment on many levels. Can I give a long answer to this?
Of course, please.
So there are 4 factors of economic production. There is land, there's labor, there's capital, and there's enterprise. So those are the classic 4 factors of production. If you go and do an economics degree, in year 1, they're going to say there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, enterprise. And they'll just drill that into you again and again. In the agricultural age, the most important asset that you have is land. And it doesn't matter what else you want. It doesn't matter what else you have. You just got to have land. If you're the most beautiful person, you're Cindy Crawford. If you're the most intelligent person, you're Einstein. Doesn't matter if you don't have land, right? The next one is the industrial age, and in the industrial age, it's all about labor and capital. So everything comes down to, can I get the money that I need to build a factory, and can I get the human bodies that I need to fill the factory full of people? That is ultimately, those 2 things are the most important things. So that age has come to an end, and we're now going into the enterprise age. And in the enterprise age, you have to become entrepreneurial. You have to be an entrepreneur in order to succeed. It actually doesn't matter if you have many people, because most successful businesses have a small headcount now. It doesn't matter if you have a lot of capital. Many successful businesses have small amounts of capital. It matters that you are very entrepreneurial. You have to embrace entrepreneurship. So that's the first thing. The rest of the world doesn't know how to do that. So you got to remember that the schooling system told you not to be entrepreneurial. So the vast majority, the millions and millions of people here are about to be disrupted. And if you're entrepreneurial, the world is your oyster. You're going to have hundreds of opportunities every single month, because the world, as the industrial age system breaks down, and we go through a breakdown of the system that everyone knows, it's going to spit out so many opportunities to fix it with an entrepreneurial solution. So you'll be distracted with 100 amazing things, and life will get better and better and better. But at the same time, life for everyone else is getting worse and worse and worse. So that's one of the biggest challenges. Add to that, technology throws fuel on the fire of disruption. So AI, media, social media, software, all of those things, those things are just speeding up the disruption.
Okay, and that, can we unpack that entrepreneurial qualities? When your oldest son, you told me he told his teacher, well, my dream is to work in one of my dad's companies. If you could install, well, you're probably doing it, but if you could install 3 qualities in him that would make the chance of him succeeding as an entrepreneur way bigger.
Yeah. So the first one is vitality versus functionality. So vitality is your life force energy. Functionality is your ability to have skills, like your knowledge and your skills, your ability to do repeatable tasks.
Yeah.
So functionality means you can repeat the task and do it over and over again well. Vitality means you're full of life force and you bring life into the room. The school system is very focused on functionality, but it diminishes your life force. So the most important thing is that he retains his life force energy. He has a sense of who he is, and he has a sense of agency that he can change things in the world. So agency is so we often measure IQ, the intelligence. We should also measure something called AQ, which would be your agency.
Yeah.
So people who have high agency, they feel like if something is wrong, they can change it.
They can do something about it. Yeah.
So a silly example that I just remembered then is I parked my car in a loading zone and I went in and get some shopping and came out within a few minutes. And the guy's there, he's writing me a ticket. I said, "Why are you writing me a ticket?" He says, "Well, you're not allowed to be in this loading zone for shopping." I said, "We should be. It should be like that." He goes, "Well, it's not like that." I said, "Well, maybe I need to change it." He goes, "Well, you can't change it." I said, "It's a man-made idea. Of course I can change it." And the look on his face was just like total shock that I would have the audacity to say, well, if I want to change it, somebody made up a decision. I'll just talk to them and see if I can change it. Now, I haven't actually gotten around to it. Easier to pay the fine. But high agency people, when they encounter something, they just think, of course I'll change that. So what I want to do with my kids is I want them to be high agency.
Yeah.
So for example, when they come to me and they say, "Daddy, can I do this?" I never want to say to them, "I said no, and no means no." I want to say, well, I said no last time. What's changed? Right?
Give me a good answer.
Give me a better answer,
Yeah.
right? Negotiate better.
Yeah.
So I tell my kids, well, of course I'll change my mind if you've got a better argument. And of course, if you can come up with a better deal, I'll change my mind. Right? When they're angry at me for giving them a rule, I say, you can break the rule. You just have to come up with a way to break the rule. You just have to have a way to negotiate.
Yeah.
So this is called agency.
So and high agency, is that a result of a different way of thinking?
High agency and vitality, they're very linked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you met someone who's extremely smart, but they just can't impact the world? They just don't have any impact in the world. So like a professor at a university or someone who's like doing a PhD and they're just like studying, the flight path of moths or something, and they're not changing the world in any way, and they don't seem like they're full of life. They're clearly smart. They can get double PhD, but they don't have a high agency. Yeah.
Powerless.
Yeah.
So your interview with Diary of a CEO went quite viral, almost 3 million views. And I believe the thumbnail is something like, it's possible for everybody to grow from 0 to 100K a month, or from 100K to 1 million
something
a
like
month. So just to grab the attention of the viewer, I want to test your brain. Pick your brain. So I've got 5 companies that are not doing 1 million a month, and just go on a thought train. Is that English?
Sure. Yeah.
How would you go about it? So I've got this girl that's baking cookies. She loves baking cookies. She's doing really, really good in Amsterdam. She's selling them to some restaurants. She's doing like, let's say, $250,000 a year baking those cookies. How would she ever scale that business to a 1 million a month?
Yeah, well, so first of all, $250,000 a year for Amsterdam. Do you think she has saturated the market in Amsterdam?
No.
So how many restaurants or cafes are taking her cookies?
Like 15.
15. Do you think we could get to 60 in Amsterdam?
I think it's possible, yeah.
So number one is we go to 60. So that takes us to $1 million a year.
And that's just ringing the bell, or
that's just sales.
Picking up the phone.
So leads, appointments, presentation, sales. We have proof of concept.
Yeah.
We have 15 who've said yes, that equals $250,000. So if we can go, let's double to 30. So that's $500,000. Double again to 60. So now we're at 1 million per city for an Amsterdam city.
Yeah.
So then if we want $1 million a month, we just need 12 cities.
Yeah.
So we then say, well, what is it about Amsterdam? Well, how many people live in Amsterdam?
Oh, I don't know, 1 million?
1 million. So we need cities of 1 million. So we basically say, well, Amsterdam has 1 million people. It's fairly cosmopolitan. It's affluent. So we might say, okay, we need Zurich. We need Barcelona. We need, Geneva. We
go international.
Well, we need cities of 1 million. How many cities of 1 million?
And what would you tell her? Because she's thinking, well, I've got my bakery right here. How I'm going to deliver those cookies, or?
Well, here's what we could do. We can either create 12 more products that do $1 million each, or we can go 12 more cities, and then we need product managers or city managers. So what we would do is then recruit a city manager.
With a very simple assignment, 60
restaurants. Your job is, so I would personally be hiring 2 key leaders in each city. One is revenue, one is operations. So the operations is the kitchen manager who bakes the cookies, and the revenue is the person who opens up 60 restaurant locations. So their job is to grow and maintain more than 60 in their city. And then the other person's job is to keep up with the demand. And basically I would centralize the leadership, but decentralize the revenue and the delivery team.
Okay. Next one. We've got a web shop, and that's selling tools like drilling machines, hammers, nails, saws, all that kinds of stuff. And of course, we've got the big shops in the Netherlands where you go as if you're just not a professional, but the regular public goes there. And this web shop is geared towards the in-between group. So they want better tools than what the general stores offer. They're not professionals. Semi-professional. They're saying, I built this myself. So in this web shop is doing like 50K a month. How in the world, it's a Dutch web shop, how in the world would they grow? What are things they can do to scale to 1 million if they want it a month? 1 million a month.
So here's what I would do with this particular business. I would hire a team of 4 people on Instagram outreach. And what we'd do is we'd look for anyone who has a following relating to home improvement, houses, renovations, any of those sorts of things. Instagram is very visual. We'd probably also look at maybe YouTube channels as well. And then we'd do an outreach program. And the outreach program is that we've identified you as a potential influencer in our market. We'd love to send you a kit of our tools. If you like it, feature it on the channel and you can keep it. And if you don't like it, send it back. There's no problem. And let us know what it is we can do to improve. We'll also give you a trackable link. And anytime someone takes an order through your channel, we'll pay you a commission. Right?
Yeah, so affiliate commission. So really use influencer marketing. Yeah.
But
visual.
Here's the thing. A lot of people, you can't just go to 1 million a month and just like wave a magic wand. A typical business that has 12 million a year is going to have something like 80 people on the team. So you got to factor in that the business is going to have to grow significantly. You're probably going to have something like 80 people on a team in order to do 1 million a month, maybe 50, maybe 100. But what I see people do with like influencer marketing is they send out like 1 or 2 emails to a few of the world's biggest influencers who have millions of followers. And they go, oh, he didn't even get back to me. I'm talking about make a list of 700 accounts that have between 10,000 and 100 and have a team of people whose job is to reach out, contact, send messages, reminder messages, and they've got a big board on the wall where they've got to put the names of all the people that they're in contact with, first contact, second contact, campaign agreed, campaign in action, campaign delivered, right? First sale, 10th sale, 100th sale.
Really volume.
Campaign repeat. So you got this big poster and I got my 4 people who are all competing for their bonuses to get as many of those people engaged as possible.
And that list of 700, would you use ChatGPT to?
You could do ChatGPT to get started, but you just go and have a look at like hashtags that people use. When you go to one account, Instagram recommends the other accounts that are very similar.
Yeah.
So you go through them.
Okay.
And for me personally, let's say you could get to, over the course of a few years, you get to say 600 campaigns that have been active. Well, you're starting to get some decent numbers.
Yeah. Okay. With the bakery example, you focused on, I know that you're just picking different kinds of
I'm going to try and do different ways.
So that everybody can maybe, this one resonates with my business model. But with the bakery, focusing on or adding for the specific question, 12 products. Yeah, we're doing okay right now. Doing the same trick with 12 new products or doing the same trick with the same product in 12 different locations. With the tools web shop, you gave an example of good relevant influencer marketing. We don't need the biggest one. We need the one with relevancy. Third one, personal trainer. He's got his studio in Amsterdam, fully booked. Let's say doing 8,000 a month. 8,000 a month. He doesn't need to scale to 1 million a month, but he wants to scale the business. And he's heard all the horror stories about hiring trainers that after 1 year start their own business because they see all the money and think I can do this myself. How would you advise this guy?
So for this one, let's use the studio as a film studio. Let's try and make this guy an influencer. Let's blow his brand up. Let's reinvest 8% of all revenue straight back into ads so that we're boosting the account. Let's create a influencer squadron where we get 10 other people who are not personal trainers but have a following, and we agree to amplify each other's content. So he partners up with you. He partners up with several other people who are all ambitious people. They're in a WhatsApp group together. Every time each one posts, they all like, comment, amplify.
Oh, wow. Maybe you can train them.
He can do some
film.
training. They can all work together and mastermind together. So they form a squadron, and they're all of them have the same goal, which is to become an influencer in their space, to become a key person of influence in their space. So the goal is he has a studio. There's a lot of downtime in the studio. The goal is to create a lot of content, really intensely build the brand. When we get to a critical mass of followers, we launch a subscription online recurring revenue product. It could be, there's a couple of ways. We could either go down the route of hand selecting 5 or 6 products that we really like and then becoming an affiliate for those products. We can go down the route of creating our own subscription product. We could do partnerships and sponsorships. So, we work with big funded brands and get them to sponsor the channel or sponsor the content. And realistically, for this to work, you need about a 10-person media team. Now, keep in mind, one thing we can't do, we can't have an impossible standard. So we can't say, I want to rapidly get to $1 million a month, but I don't want to hire any people and I don't want to spend any money on growth. Well, if you're going to get to $1 million a month, you got to spend money and you got to hire people.
Yeah.
So people say, but I haven't got any. Okay, well then you got to solve that problem.
Yeah.
But if you want to know kind of an approach, the approach is we're going to make you famous. We're going to have a 10-person media team. We're going to monetize a YouTube channel. We're going to have a online training. We're going to have affiliates, all of that sort of stuff.
Great, thanks. 2 more, and then after that, because you already mentioned it, I would like to talk about the different stages of a business. And the next one is not always the better option for everybody. But let's finish up with 2 more examples. Now we've got a corporate consultant that says, Daniel, with all your online and influencers, I'm a consultant in the corporate world. My job is really boring. It's not sexy. Let's make up something. He makes an assessment of all the different layers of software and gives them advice how to make the whole software's jungle more simple. Yeah?
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's his job. His price is like €250 an hour. He can bill 40 hours a week, so he's making decent money. But he would like to scale the business because when a job ends, he needs to look for another one. So,
sure.
Yeah. So how could he scale the business?
So here's what I would do for him. Number 1, I would get him to write a book so that he becomes a recognized expert in what he does. I'd get him to sponsor events and become the main speaker at conferences.
Sponsor the events? Or?
Sponsor events. So he's sponsoring and he's the speaker. He's got a book. He's the speaker. He's sponsored. Part of the sponsorship is they film it. It all goes on to YouTube.
He pays a fee. Let me speak at your event.
He pays $10,000.
Yeah.
And now in exchange for $10,000, he's the speaker. Everyone is the type of customer in the audience.
Yeah.
He gets them to fill in online scorecards. He gets them to fill in online quizzes. He's collecting data. He's got media. He's got a book out all about navigating the IT jungle.
Yeah.
Right? So he creates the IT jungle. So phase 1 is he massively elevates his brand as a key person of influence in the space. Phase 2 is he identifies 6 businesses that are high quality businesses, but the current owner wants to retire. And we want 6 businesses that do 2 million each. he puts together a board of directors who are very talented individuals and a team of executives. So he's got a board, let's say 3 people on the board. He's got a team of 4 executives who agree that they can run a group of companies together.
Mm-hmm.
And then what he does is he goes out and he buys those 6 businesses by issuing shares in the new venture. And he might also be able to raise a little bit of capital from a private equity firm to pay some cash and some shares in the new venture. So now, because of his profile, he's attracted an executive team and a board. He's then been able to sensibly pitch to the 6 companies that do 2 million each. Then he brings that group together. He rebrands and renames the group one company. They're now doing 12 million as a group. He's got a board of directors. He's got a board of an executive team and a board of directors. He's got some private equity backing. He owns the vast majority of the shares, but he also has some shareholders, which are the owners of the previous companies. And then once that matures, let's say the 12 million gets up to 18 million or 24 million, then it's on sold to the next private equity company. He walks away with his amount. The shareholders of the companies that wanted to retire, they finally get their liquidity event on the final portion of their shares.
Mm-hmm. Sounds so easy. But the first step is, of course, doing the work, elevating his brand, investing, and becoming a key person of influence. Yeah. And that opens so many doors. Last one, recruitment business in the IT sector. So IT companies, or companies call them, we need IT personnel. Yeah, and they deliver. They search on LinkedIn and they do placements. They get paid for every. They don't get paid by the hour. They get paid by a placement, so you will. So they get a fixed fee if they can find a suitable person. So let's say we don't need to scale to $1 million a month, but let's say they're now a 4-person team, 1 owner, 3 recruiters that are talking to potential employees. And let's say they're doing $500,000 a year, but it's a really intensive work job. How could they scale this business?
So here's what comes to mind. 2 things come to mind. Number 1, we already are dealing with large corporates. So I would go to the corporates and say, what special projects do you want to implement? What change management programs? And I would say we can assemble teams of 6 to 30 people to come in and do special projects in your company. They are all on a day rate and they're there to do a special project. We're going to have several senior people as well as junior people. And rather than having to recruit, you're going to bring in a parachute team who comes in and they're going to do a change management program.
Fix the problem, like a SWAT team.
Yep, could last 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. If you then want to recruit any of them permanently and they want to join your team permanently, there's a recruitment fee. But we have parachute teams that we put together and we bring them in to solve a problem that you actually want to solve.
So, and that way your relevancy goes up. What's the advantage?
So the advantage is that now, rather than doing a one-off recruitment fee, now each person is on $1,500 a day. You're paying them maybe $700-800 a day and keeping $600-700 a day per person, but you're placing maybe 7 or 8 people on that project, 10 people on that project, 12 people on that project. So each, let's say for every 10 people, you're talking about 15,000 a day. 5,000's profit and 10,000 goes straight through to the team. But now you're doing change management programs, 1,500 a day. So now it's hugely value added and the revenue goes through the roof. So that would be one way. Second thing is maybe developing some software. Find a problem that you've been able to solve, develop the intellectual property, and develop some software and see if you can scale that. But those are 2 things I would explore.
Beautiful, thanks. Okay, Daniel, I would really like your vision on the different types of businesses that we can build. Because if you look at Instagram, there's only one business that's viable and that you can be proud of, and that's the big scale up with a lot of staff, and you're the big CEO. Is that true, or are there more kinds of businesses that can be successful.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So there's actually 3 successful outcomes that you could have as a business, right? Outcome 1 is a lifestyle business, fun, freedom, and flexibility. And it's normally 3 to 12 employees, 3 to 12 people in total. The team size is 3 to 12. So it's small, but it punches well above its weight. It's very media heavy. I've got a friend of mine who they have 10 people. They do close to 10 million of revenue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
1 million per
1 million per person. It's wild. Very super successful.
Yeah.
Super successful media business. Then, and I've got another friend who's very similar, but he does about 5 million. Still wildly, like 2 million of cost, 3 million of profit.
Wow.
And they're 10 people. So those are lifestyle boutiques. Second type of business is the performance business. These are normally 30 to 150 people on the team. You're into the 8-figure revenue, 7-figure profit. And these are businesses that can be sold to private equity. And then the final type is the unicorn, which is the Silicon Valley, change the world, billion-dollar valuation, billion-dollar
Uber.
You're at Uber, Deliveroo, any of those big kind of, Oracle, Salesforce, anything that comes out of Silicon Valley, that's their specialty.
Yeah.
So you essentially, some people when they say I want to be an entrepreneur, they mean I want to go to Silicon Valley and start a billion-dollar business. Some people, I want to build a private equity-backed performance business that can be sold for 30 million. Some people are like, I want to do 3 million a year, have 600,000 of profit, but I only work 3 days a week and we have lots of fun and we can do it from anywhere in the world. All 3 are valid. There's no better. It's just about knowing what you want and what is your choice.
Okay. So, but then you have a lot of people that know what they want, but what I see sometimes is that they don't know themselves good enough. So
you have your doubts.
Could you describe the biggest differences in leadership qualities?
That's a great point because I might want to be a basketball player in the NBA.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
No,
right. So this is
maybe
it's not going to happen. I would be lucky to score a point. And the same thing is true. If I went to Silicon Valley, I'd be lucky to get maybe a VC interview with one of the top VCs. Who knows, right? So we have to have some self-awareness. If we want to do a lifestyle business, we have to be media present. We have to be
media present.
We got to basically be a key person of influence. We have to be on camera, on ads. A lot of those businesses, the reason that they're super profitable and super successful is because it's built around a key person of influence brand. And the person who's doing that is very good at attracting the attention of the customers. They typically have a following of 10,000 to 100,000 people. They can attract a small team. They can typically create a solution for a company, that's a few thousand or more. Maybe they can sell a recurring revenue product. Maybe if they get a big following, they could perhaps do something that's consumer, but niche, novel, interesting. I much prefer like B2B services or B2B solutions. At the business-to-business solutions works best at that level.
Okay. So you need to be comfortable and good.
And you also what you want from the business is work-life balance, bit of free, and it's fun. It's all about fun.
Yeah.
You're not trying to get everything out of it. The next level up, the performance business, you're going to have to be running an executive team of basically 5 people, including yourself, and then you're going to have a broader team of 25 to 100 people.
So what's the one quality that's needed in the performance business that you don't need in the lifestyle business?
Extremely talented people want to credibly work for you.
And
so the truth is that for a performance business to work, you're going to need elite level people or high performing people. They don't just work for anyone. And they certainly don't work for people who are taking time off. So high performers do not want to see that you're hanging out on a beach in Thailand this week and you've just headed over to Dubai to have a bit of fun. High performers work for other high performers and they work for people who they feel they're learning something from. That is so important.
Yeah.
So if you have no background at recruiting high performing people onto your team, then it's unlikely that you can do a performance business. The value of a CEO in a performance business, if a private equity company comes and backs something, is that they believe that CEO has the ability to get an amazing chief marketing officer and chief technology officer. Take someone like a CTO. CTO, if they're any good, they're in huge demand. They're really good at what they do. They only work for a proven visionary CEO. And, they want to know, can you raise money if we need money? Can you recruit talented, customer success people? And like, can you bring this entire team together? If you don't seem like the business, if you don't seem like the person who can pull all that together, they're not going to work for you. If they don't work for you, then you're not going to build a performance business.
So again, the identity of the business owner on a different way than with a lifestyle business is really important.
It's more so at a performance level, you're now not so much impressing customers, you're impressing talented team members to quit their job and come and work with you.
Yeah. And for those people, lifestyle is apparently less important than, and what fuels them?
Yeah, so
why do they want to work 50, 60 hours a week?
Well, there's a couple of reasons why you want to work 50, 60 hours a week. Normally the money becomes life-changing in itself. So there's whereas a lifestyle business doesn't have a huge exit, so you better enjoy the process.
Right, yeah.
Whereas a performance business, you might sell it for 40 million and walk away with 8, and you've now got, and you would have paid yourself along the way as well. Now you've got $8 million for 4 years worth of work.
Yeah.
So it's, and the other thing too is there is a certain type of person who just is attracted to working 50 hours a week. Yeah. Truth is, for me personally, is that I have had to, as a dad, I've had to really tone down that side of myself. But who I naturally, I am a belligerent, focused workaholic. I love finding something and then going all in on it. It's my personality.
Kids change that?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to have I don't want to have no relationship with my kids. I want to have a good relationship with my kids. But I've had to make a decision to take them to school every morning and do all of those things, and to just be a bit more patient about the timeframes. But if you were to look at me when I was single, roll out of bed, work, have breakfast, work, have lunch, work, go dinner, work, go through to 11 o'clock at night, and that's a great day. I'm like, yes, I worked from 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. That was a great day. Now, work means different things to different people.
Yeah.
If you're digging ditches, you can't work 8 till 11 p.m.
No.
But if your job is running events, selling, doing media, working with teams, facilitating a workshop, taking everyone out to dinner and rewarding the high-performing team members, getting on a call late at night to the US time zone and talking to your new representative of a new city and getting them G'd up for their next move, filling in some contracts, doing an acquisition, reading through the contracts for a company that you've just bought, right? If you're, like that's work at that level. At that level, work is negotiating deals, signing off on stuff, recruiting talented A players.
It's an adventure, yeah.
It's great.
And
right?
and if you're bringing your kids to school most days?
Yeah, almost every day.
Can you do that with your full attention, or is there a little voice that's saying, "Oh, we could have been working right now"?
Oh no, there's definitely a little voice. I'm my personality is belligerent focus.
So you force yourself.
Yeah.
To
look, even still.
Why?
Well, it's the same as health and fitness for me as well. So if I could, personality-wise, if I could wave a magic wand, I would pick one thing and just be focused on one thing and ignore everything else. As in, like, that's how I was in my 20s. But I did that to the detriment of my health. I did that to the detriment of my relationship with my girlfriend at the time. Everything else suffered.
Yeah.
In 3 years, I built a $10 million company.
Yeah. But there was a lot of damage on other areas.
Yeah, and I also didn't care. My girlfriend said, "I'm leaving you," and I went, "Okay."
More time to work.
Fine, more time to work.
Yeah.
And I was putting on weight, and I was disappointed that I was putting on weight, but I was like, I'm not going to take time off to go to the gym. I just very focused. So I had to learn how to tame that side of myself. But you ask about personality styles. There are very few people who are that intense, that's how they like to function.
Yeah.
That's many people would see that as a character flaw in me. They'd say that's not healthy.
Yeah.
Fine, I get it. But there are people who love that. That's what they love.
And that's the reality. If you want to build even several multi-million-dollar businesses, then you've got to do the work.
Yeah, you got to embrace it.
So what they're selling in 30 days, build $1 million business in 30 days from your villa in Bali. That's not true.
It's extremely hard to bring together the level of talent that you need if you're in a villa in Bali and they're not.
Yeah.
You got to remember that A players have options, loads of options.
Yeah.
So you take anyone who's like an extremely good technology developer, they're constantly being pitched, come and work on this project. Would you work on this project? Can you come? Because their entire network knows they're good. So they're always being asked, will you come and spend the next 2 years building this thing? We'll give you equity. We'll give you $500,000 a year. All of that's happening for them. Top salespeople are the same. They're constantly being poached and offered deals. Big private equity companies or venture capital or funders, angel investors, they're pitched all the time as well.
Yeah.
Imagine going to a venture capital firm and saying, hey, look, I'm going to build this really great company, but I just need you to know that I'm really mostly focused on work-life balance and my family comes first and my health and fitness comes first. They'll sit there and nod and go, yeah, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah.
I got other options.
Yeah. So people want the results, but if you want the results, then you also really have to choose the work. Yeah.
And it's no different to sport or anything else.
Yeah.
There are people who say, I want to win a gold medal. Great. You're not going to do that with work-life balance.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So everything has its price. So there are those types of businesses. We've got the lifestyle boutique. We've got the performance.
Yeah. And the unicorn. So the unicorn is if you're super lucky, wind in your sails, huge amounts of funding, everything goes perfectly.
Okay. Yeah. And then I've also heard you talk about 3 types of strategies. So you will? Can you?
Yeah. So for every business, there's only 3 business plans, which is that we want to grow the business. So top line revenue, we want to innovate, we want to develop something new, we want to reinvest everything back into growth. We want to widen the margins, we want more profit, we want more income, we want more benefits. We don't care about growth. We actually just want the business to be a more profitable business.
Yeah.
Or exit. We want to sell this business.
And the growth option, that's also with an exit in mind or not?
Maybe not. Maybe it's just a growth. The business plan, you need to change gears. So when it comes to selling a business, they talk about preparing the business for sale. They talk about what's called dressing the bride as a private equity term. So they have to get the business ready for sale. Yeah. So that is a plan, as a business plan. And what they might do is 12 months before they want to sell it, they just cut back on ad spend. They cut back on hiring.
Yeah. Look at these margins. Yeah.
Yeah. And they might say, up until recently, we used to pay for this particular software. We don't need that software. We'll just use free Google Sheets for now. All right. So they'll pull it back because they know that every single dollar that they cut is going to be worth
a multiplier.
Yeah, multiplier of 10.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing they might do is they might say, in order to get ready for sale, we need to set up a data room. And they might say, oh my goodness, all of our developers haven't signed IP assignment agreements. We need to get them to sign those. We haven't registered our intellectual property. We haven't trademarked some of the things. We don't have a contract with one of our main suppliers that is a multi-year contract. We've got this debt that is we'd be better off clearing that off because it's not a good-looking debt. So that's all part of the for exit business plan.
Yeah.
So each business plan has its things. So growth requires new assets. So new assets are the most important. We've got to develop some new asset. Income requires better performance, where we're doing more with what we have.
Yeah. Better margins, better.
And one of the best things for income is fame, right? The ability to be lots and lots of people know about us. And, so we've got a big following. We've got lots of media out there. We got all of that sort of stuff. So if we can have a big following, we can make a lot of money off that.
Yeah.
Cash flow.
So it's really important to choose.
Yeah.
And then
just go for it. And one thing that kills a business is when we're swinging wildly. Because growth is great, but the price of growth is we're not going to be hugely profitable while we're growing this fast. And we're not going to sell the business while we're growing this fast. And then exit is great, but we've got to take our foot off growth, widen it, and get everything lined up for the exit.
Yeah.
And income is great, but you're not going to grow so much if you're not reinvesting. You're going to have to make a sacrifice. So there's always a sacrifice that has to be made. And everyone has to be on board for that business plan.
Exactly. And it's okay. You have to pay the price, but most people don't even think about this.
Yeah, or they want everything.
Yeah. I've got two specific questions because the things you talked about up until now. One is you talked a lot of times about building a following, key person of influence. Let's say someone has been posting on LinkedIn and on Instagram irregularly and has an Instagram following, and let's say it's their channel, Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Their audience is there. They have Instagram following of 5,000 followers, medium engagement. They're really busy running their business. How if you could give them maybe 3 specific tips or strategies for building a big following, good following.
So strategy 1 is like set a 2-year goal, and you're going to be consistent for 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
And you're going to say, this is a 100-week plan. Because it's often the case that it goes like this and then it goes like that. It takes off. So what you're going to do is every month, you're going to block out half a day. And that half a day is for the creation of content for the following month or more. You're going to do videos. You're going to turn those videos into blogs and articles, all of that sort of stuff. And you need to have a media team. So you're either going to have someone in-house who's going to work at doing the media, or you're going to have a little agency or outsourcer whose job is to do this. Like anything, if you pay peanuts, you'll get monkeys. And if you pay top money, you'll get top people. So for most businesses, you need to allocate something like 2,000 to 5,000 a month if you're going to have an agency who their job is to just get content out there regularly. If you're going to in-house it, you might need to be looking at 5,000 to 10,000 a month, full-time dedicated couple of people whose job is to film and edit and
per person or for the
business.
Okay.
No, you probably have 2 people on $5,000 a month type thing if they're full-time building this stuff out. A lot of people don't want to commit to it because they don't believe it will actually pay off. And I always ask the question, if you could theoretically wave a magic wand and have a one-to-one conversation with 1,000 people a month, every single month, and you just imagine somehow you've got the time to do it.
Yeah.
But you could sit down and have a cup of coffee with 1,000 people. Would your business grow as a result? And if the answer is yes, well, then that is what this is, right? And you think, how much would 1,000 cups of coffee be?
Yeah.
Well, let's say it's €3 each. So it's 3,000 euros to have a cup of coffee with 1,000 people. Great. So let's allocate those 3,000 euros to a media team. The media's job is to go have a cup of coffee with people.
You should sell media campaigns.
I've got a media company. I own one. Jammy Digital. Shout out to Jammy.
Jammy, we'll put the link in the description. And I want to talk about ScoreApp later as well. So because that's I see that a lot. That people, I should do something with marketing or being more visible. So they invest 500 euros. They make 3 reels themselves, and then after 2 months they say, "See, it didn't work."
Yeah,
but you have to commit fully, and it's scary because the return on investment comes maybe 3-4 months later.
But it's like any asset.
Yeah,
if I buy a house and I spend 500,000 on a house,
then you've got a parking lot in Amsterdam.
So let's say I spend 2 million. I'm only going to get 3% back each year. Like it doesn't come back quickly. Any asset takes time to return. The most accessible asset that you could possibly acquire these days is a personal brand. That is the number one most accessible asset. That asset was not available to your grandfather, probably not your father.
No,
that asset was not available. They could buy houses cheap, they could buy land cheap, but they couldn't have fame cheap, right? Now, we can't get houses cheap.
We missed out on that one.
But there is an asset that we do have available.
Yeah.
And our kids may say, well, it's easy for you because you were around at the time when anyone could do that. It's different now.
Yeah.
But at this particular moment in time, you get out there and do the work, do the activity, you invest, you will actually end up with an asset that serves you for life.
Yeah.
And by the way, when I say serves you for life, I've been building my profile now, I don't know. I know, let me talk about some other people. I know some people who have been building their profile for 2 years and now they've hit a point where they get 5,000 euro speaking fees, where for 1 hour they go and speak at a conference and they get 5,000. They sell books. Their business is booming. Their business is growing 20, 30%. They're attracting amazing salespeople. They're attracting amazing talent. And that's after 2 years. Now you can imagine what's happening for me after 10, 15 years. So at 10, 15 years, I've got weirdly, like I'm off to Vegas and then Dubai and
Code 49.
Code 49, right? Like genuinely this in the next 10 days, London, Amsterdam, Las Vegas and Dubai. And the business, like 7 businesses and they run and all of that. So it's genuinely, it's an amazing asset.
Building a personal brand. The biggest mistake I see people trying to build a personal brand. Personal brand. So I should talk about me and I should talk about my beautiful and perfect life. What can you say about that? What should we share?
The difference between an influencer and a key person of influence is that an influencer says, look at me, and a key person of influence says, look at this. And what we're trying to do is say, we're trying to be an idea sharer. So we're not saying, look at me, here's my breakfast and my gym routine and my car. We're saying, look at these amazing ideas. Look what's happening in the world. Look at this incredible transformation. It's not about me, it's about this. So we're not chasing the spotlight, we're becoming a spotlight and shining the spotlight onto this.
We're not chasing the spotlight, we're becoming a spotlight. Wow. Thanks, Daniel. Another recurring question then is that we get a lot and that I've been encountering myself is how to grow a team. If you make a hiring mistake, generally speaking, it's going to cost you a lot more than the salary you're paying. So what's the most important thing to focus on when hiring people and building a team?
Hiring is important, and there are certainly what you'd call key hires. But the way you run the team can be wildly different. I'll give you an example. When I was a teenager, I worked at McDonald's, and we had 2 store managers, a day manager and a night manager. We had Megan and Rachel, something like that. Megan and Rachel. Megan was amazing. She brought out the best of the team. We loved working for Megan. She would never micromanage. She would empower the team. She'd get the team together as a little huddle. She'd get us to all discuss what the game plan was for the shift. When she asked for something, she did it in a way that made you feel that it was part of, us all doing a great job together. Rachel was top-down, directive, micromanaging, treating you like you're a child. So exactly the same people. And on a shift with Megan, we all performed. And on a shift with Rachel, we just didn't. We did not like doing it. So exactly the same people, but very different results. So the way you run a team is also a really important factor.
So people that are complaining, there's no good hires anymore, and
it could
teams
be
are underperforming. Harsh reality check.
You got to remember, it's incredibly hard to work for an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are very hard to work for. We can't be fired. Right? We can just run with our ideas. Anyone else in any other company, if you work in a corporate, you're always worried that you might get fired or you might get demoted. You're always worried that you might get disciplined. You're always worried that your idea might be challenged. So you behave very differently. Whereas an entrepreneur doesn't have any of that pressure. So they behave to an employee, you behave quite erratically, and they do not feel comfortable challenging you or pushing back. It takes incredible discipline as an entrepreneur to create the space where they can fight you, right? You have to create that environment. So I will say to people, I need you to know when you work with me, I'm impossible to offend. I love it when you give me straight talk. I love to lock horns. And if you want to lock horns, just say, Dan, can we lock horns on that? And locking horns mean we'll just have a little wrestle about that idea. And it means we're on the same team, but we're trying to get the idea better. So I have a lot of things that I say over and over again to try and create the safety where people can challenge me if they want to challenge me. Most entrepreneurs don't go to that trouble. They don't.
No.
They just say, "Well, I'm the boss, and you do what I say." Horrible way to work.
Yeah.
When it comes to a key hire, the way I now run my businesses is I have one general manager who's experienced, who knows what they're doing, who's good at running a team. I give the key outcomes to that person. Are we going for growth? Are we going for profit, or are we going for exit?
And that's the vision. You give that?
Yeah, we do the vision, mission, values. We do the origin story. We do what's the business plan. So all of that's clear. My general manager's clear, and then I let them get on with hiring and running the team and doing it their way. If I hear back from the team, this general manager is annoying us and we can't work for them and we want to quit. Okay, I got to replace the general manager. But essentially, my only really key hire is this GM working or not?
And is he attracting elite level?
Yeah, is that person getting the result?
Yeah.
And are they? So for me personally, I'm mostly just working with a few key hires. In a bigger company, I've got a head of revenue and a head of operations. And so I'll be putting the right revenue person and the right operations person in place, and everything else is their business. How they do it is how they do it. And they can come to me for advice if they want my advice, but most of the time they don't. If I get the right person, they just get on with it.
Okay. Daniel, as an entrepreneur, what's your definition of success? And the shorter your answer, maybe I can challenge you, the better. What's your definition of success for an entrepreneur? When are we successful?
When you feel like you do the work that you're born to do and that you make the most of the times that we're in.
When you do the work that you were born to do, and you make the most of the times that we are in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's no money in that equation?
Well, making the most of the times we're in, you're not really making the most of it if you're not making a lot of money. There's so much money out there. They just pump trillions into the economy. So there's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So the feeling should be I'm making the most of the times that I'm in. And I'm making the most of I'm doing the work that I was born to do. So I might sacrifice some money to do more of the work that I'm born to do. So I might say, well, you know what? I'm not really wanting to make another software product. I want to go out there and train and educate people in this particular thing. That's the work I'm born to do. Great. Software would make more money, but this is what I'm born to do. So I'm doing the work I'm born to do, and I'm making the most of the times that we're in. Making the most of the times we're in, very practically, if you're not using YouTube channels, you're not making the most of the times we're in. If you're not using AI, you're not making the most of the times we're in.
That's what you mean.
If you don't have a remote team, you're not making the most of the times we're in. If you're not surfing a trend that is presenting itself. So if you're just doing things in a traditional, boring, ineffectual way, you're not making the most of the times we're in. So it's that doing the work you love, doing the work you're born to do, the work you feel called to do, combined with making the most of the times that we're in.
To speak for myself, I feel listening to you that there's a third thing missing, speaking for myself. So I really feel that I'm on the right path, that I'm doing what I was born to do, especially with the new lichting, our youth programs and CLUB49. I really think, of course, there's a lot of room for improvement, and we're using artificial intelligence, we're using YouTube, we've got a strong personal brand. There's enough. I'm not poor in any way, but I feel that and when I look at you, you are a very value-based man. That's why one of the reasons why I want to learn from you. If I want to learn from an entrepreneur, I want to learn from an entrepreneur that has the same core values, that acts out the same core values that are important for me. But I feel that I'm leaving a lot of money on the table, not money that I need. And that's what I keep telling myself. Tibor, you've got enough money. I've got the lifestyle I want. But I feel there's this part missing. Could you coach me on that?
Well, for starters, entrepreneurs have their money tied up in things. It's very hard not to. If you're ambitious, your money's tied up.
Yeah.
Because, Jeff Bezos said, profit's what you have if you've run out of ideas, right? That's a real growth mindset.
Yeah.
So consider this. There's our incomes that we pull out of the business. That's where we're earning an income.
Yeah.
Sometimes we decide as entrepreneurs not to put that strain on the business. And instead, we choose to raise the value of our equity.
Yeah.
So let's say that my income should be $500,000 a year, but I can't pull $500,000 a year out of this business just yet because it's still growing, it's still getting there. So what's happening is that let's say I'm pulling 100,000 out, 400,000 I'm investing into the value of the equity. So rather than pulling 500,000 out, I say I'll pull 100,000 out and 400,000 goes back into the value of the equity. Now, if you're doing the smart things, the value of that business over the next 3, 4, 5 years turns into 10 million. And the 400,000 of investment that you did each year for 5 years, you put 2 million worth of your income back into the business, but now it's worth 10 million. It's a great return on investment. So you have to, you can't have it both ways. You can't, Warren Buffett can't say, I want to keep 100 billion of cash, but I also want the value of owning Apple stock.
Yeah.
You have to either own the Apple stock or have the cash. An entrepreneur has to say, I'm either pulling the cash out or I'm compounding up the value of my equity.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one thing. We have our income. We have the value of our equity, which sometimes as an entrepreneur doesn't feel real because you're so close to it. So there are certain people, for me personally, I've got this group of companies. I don't know what it would be worth. It'd be worth somewhere between 50 and 100 million. But there's many days where I sit there and I go, well, I can't sell it right now, this minute. It would take me months to be able to actually sell some of that. So it doesn't feel like 50 or 100 million. It feels like, well, it's all tied up.
Yeah.
Right. Now, this is also true if you're a private equity fund manager and you've got your entire fund invested in private equity deals. It takes 6 years, or they budget 6 years to mature that fund, where they take 100 million, they invest it across a portfolio of companies. 6 years later, they exit for 250 million. That's great. But there was a liquidity event here and there was a liquidity event here. And between those 2 points, there was no liquidity, but they just had to keep executing the game. Unfortunately, that's the rules of the game.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Because I'm really thinking, I've built now 2 companies, like 2 million a year, but it feels like a ceiling. And my income is good, the money I can take out of the company. But there's maybe something blocking me or thinking I'm going to sacrifice the mission if we grow faster or...
Yeah.
I feel like I am missing something.
Yeah, and that's entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is like any sport. You get to like a Formula 1 driver. Before that, they had to be very good at Formula Ford, and then they had to go through Porsche Carreras, and then they had to go through these go-karts. So there's all these kind of steps. And entrepreneurship's a bit like that. We kind of max out the game that we know how to play. And 2 million is a really common ceiling. Right. So that kind of, and there are other people around you that are like 2 million. I can't get past the 500,000. Like I'm stuck on the 500,000. And now, I want to get to where you are. And then like for me, I'm quite comfortable now building businesses at the 10 to 20 million mark. But I look at what Elon does. He does it's a rounding error. He does 100 billion worth of sales in Tesla, right? It's like all of my best efforts are not even 1 hour of Elon's, right? So there's always levels, but yeah, there are definitely levels. You're really good at proof of concept, building something of great value, evidenced by 2 million plus profit. Scaling up and exiting is the next piece.
Yeah.
Right. Now, mind you, those things can change very rapidly. You can go 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, few doubles, and then exit 100 million. So like bear in mind, depending on what it is, it could be sold for anywhere from 4 to 10 times revenue, depending on whether it's software or training or intellectual property or what.
Yeah.
So you could build something up to 10 million and it sells for 30 or 40 million, or it could sell for 80 or 90 million.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I'm going
Did
to...
I answer that or not?
I'm food for thought for me.
I will say one other thing too. Our wealth is tied up in places as well, like our network. Like, what would you place as the value of your network right now?
Yeah, it's really valuable. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, we live in a world of intangible assets. where tangible assets are really like old school and they get very low yields. But intangible assets, we don't really think about how to value them. If I was to say, what price would you pay on deleting your entire social media presence?
Yeah.
What would I have to pay you?
Well, millions.
Millions,
Yeah.
right? For you to say, so there you go, there's an asset worth millions.
Yeah.
If I was to say, what do you think someone else would pay if they could somehow transfer all of that over to them? Probably millions.
Yeah.
If I said the value of your network, the people you know, the people who know you,
Multiple millions, yeah.
multiple millions,
Yeah.
right? Especially evidenced by the fact that when you wanted to raise money, you effortlessly raised money.
Yeah.
So we have our asset, we have these new economy assets that are not traditional. They're not the way that we normally value them. Cash is the thing that is just purely and simply, it's the holding ground between ideas. So when you hear, like, I've got friends of mine who have sold businesses for 20, 30 million. Within 12 months, that's redeployed into their next ideas. You know, some of it's in a big house, some of it's in a S&P 500 fund, some of it's in their next startup, right? Some of it's, you know, in a private equity limited partnership. So it's like, you know, yes, there's for many years, the 20 million was tied up in their equity of one business. Then they got a 20 million exit. There was the day where all the cash hit their bank account. Very rapidly, it gets redeployed. You know, so we can't just judge based on cash. Our money is in other things.
Thanks. My final question is not I still first I want to talk about ScoreApp, and then we'll go to the final question. So when you've got a reliable and predictable stream of good leads, everything after that is easy. So I've been using your software ScoreApp for more than a year, really intensely, I think. Can you tell me about the principles behind ScoreApp? Why is it so useful? Why is it making so much revenue for so many entrepreneurs? So I'm really interested in the principles behind it.
So everything's downstream from lead generation. We need to have things that people want to engage with online, where they fill in their name and their email address, and that they, you know, give you a signal.
It was the ebook.
Right? Yeah, it used to be the ebook.
Yeah.
Sometimes just even joining a Facebook group can be a good lead generator. Sometimes people sending you a direct message can be a lead generator. Occasionally on social media, you'll see people say, comment in the comments below, say the word workshop, and I'll send you a ticket to my workshop or something like that, right? So those are all signals of interest that are designed to capture attention and then translate that into a signal of interest. What we've found is that one of the most effective lead generators is an online assessment or diagnostic. So when someone wants to make a change in their life or in their business, they love to do some testing or some diagnostics. So for example, let's say I wanted to run a marathon. I would love to fill in a form that says, are you ready to run a marathon? Answer 20 questions and we'll tell you what you need to have, whether you're ready and willing, like you've got everything you need to run a marathon. It's like, oh, that's a good investment of time. If I want to grow my business by hiring salespeople, is your business ready to hire a salesperson? Answer 10 questions to find out. So these are kind of like pre-flight checklists. They're diagnostics. If you go to the doctor and you say, oh, you know, I don't know what's wrong with me. I've just got no energy. And the doctor says, oh, take this pill. You feel like, oh, wait a second, that's too rushed.
Yeah.
Right. But if they say, let's do a blood test, I'm going to test for a few things. And then they do a blood test and they say, you're really low on, you know, vitamin B or whatever. We're going to give you some vitamin B. I took the test and now I'm going to take the advice. It's the same with most businesses. The business is trying to sell too quickly, but the customer wants to slow down and take a little test in order to then know if it's the right thing to buy something. Yeah. So ScoreApp allows you to set up one of those tests, and we use templates and AI to make it super fast. Most people can set one of these up in 30 minutes just to see if it works for them. You can do it on a free account. And then if it works, you can pay for more leads and get that going. It's so good. If you've already got a social media profile, even if you've only got 1,000 followers, this is a way to get them to signal that they actually want to buy from you and to begin the process of moving them towards wanting to buy.
Yeah.
So online assessments and what we call scorecards. We also can use the exact same technology to do mini courses to educate people and entertain people. We use it to do waiting list campaigns where people can signal to join a waiting list. So all of that's ready to go on ScoreApp.
Yeah,
Templates,
beautiful.
it's great.
I will put the link in the description. We've been using it a lot and making a lot of sales through ScoreApp. The two things we use are the waiting list. It helped us immensely, also with delivering a better product to our customers. I had this idea of a club for entrepreneurs, CLUB49. So I opened up a wait list like a half year ago, and then I had like 4 or 5 questions for why would you come to the club? To work out, to do to learn about your business. And I thought, well, my followers, they want to work out and they want to learn about their business, and they did. But the thing that they wanted the most was to connect on a human level with like-minded entrepreneurs, and I didn't see that one coming. So then I knew, okay, we have to facilitate that. So that helped a lot, and all our other scorecards are what I call photos at a dentist. And this is what I see a lot of people doing wrong. They make a scorecard and they give so much value at the scorecards. And then the recipient says, well, thank you so much. I'm going to work on this and then I'll call you. You know? And what we do in our scorecards, it's a bloodbath. If you take one of our scorecards, unless you really have a profitable and beautiful machine, but we show you all the dents in your business. Well, this is wrong. This is costing you this, and the consequence of that is this. And then if you make your scorecard like that, then it's so easy to make the sale, because they ask you, well, everything's red.
I need to improve.
How can I get it into the green? We can help you with that. So I really recommend the ScoreApp software. And
just the software, by the way, for anyone, because we know what we're talking about. It creates a landing page like lead pages. Yeah. It creates a quiz like Typeform. Yeah. And then it creates dynamic results like, well, there's not much that does it, but like Zapier plugged into a bunch of sheets, but it's all seamless. Yeah. So landing page, quiz, and dynamic results all done for you. And then the marketing materials to get people there. And the most beautiful thing I found was the customized PDF report. I've been looking for that online for years, that you can give your customer a personalized report with all kinds of graphs. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it connects to all the autoresponders. Yeah. Okay, so last question that's not a question. So I just want to pick your brain and let you share your thoughts about the centralization of power, because this is a theme for a lot of my followers. We're entrepreneurs. We're in the Netherlands. They're coming with the digital currency in like 1 or 2, maybe 3 years. There's becoming more and more rules, and the rules are more and more on a European or even global WEF level. Just what are your thoughts? What are you seeing? And one of the responses that I fell into was like darkness, was pitching. It's the WEF, it's Klaus Schwab, and more control. And the tax in the Netherlands is extremely high for us entrepreneurs. So it's really easy to point at the government, at the tax, at the European laws. So what do you see? What do you see the next 3 to 5 years? And how would you respond to that? Everything goes back to human behavior. Some humans believe that if we just centralize more power and if we just centralize more decision-making, that'll be good for everybody. Yeah. We'll have a better tribe. We'll have a better thing. So it's not crazy to think, oh, well, we're living in a modern time. We should just have one planet and we should just be super well organized as one planet, and we should have a global government and a global currency, and we should just think of ourselves as just humans who share a planet together, and we're all one human race. Yeah. Right. So there are plenty of people who are very good people, and from all the right reasons and intentions, for all good intentions, they genuinely believe that the world's problems are because we don't have one big global community, and there's not a global government, there's not a global system, right? Same with economies. There are plenty of socialists who think, if we just organize better, we could eliminate wastage, we could feed the poor, we could have more people. Then there are other people who say, you know what, if you want the best outcomes, you need to let people run their own lives. You need to trust that some people are going to make mistakes and you're not going to like what they do with their life. They're not going to run their life the way you would run their life.
Yeah.
Right?
Equal opportunities, but different outcomes.
On whole, on the mass, unfortunately, the best way to get the best outcomes is through decentralized, let people get on with it. If they succeed, they succeed. And if they fail, they fail. But at least it was their decisions. So those are two very good human inclinations. Like, it's not that you're an evil person or a non-evil person. It's just that you have an inclination that centralized power would be better for everyone, or decentralized power would be better for everyone.
Yeah.
So I think when you create an enemy and you label them as evil, you give up a lot of power to them, right? You make them out to be this big evil baddie, as opposed to just seeing them as someone who's approached the problem through their lens. I've got better ideas. I think my ideas are better. I think decentralized power is better. The other thing that I think is that when you're a high agency, high IQ person, the idea that someone wants to control your life is like, absolutely not, right? No way. But remember that there are plenty of low agency, low IQ people who the idea that someone wants to control their life is like, absolutely yes. That would be nice. Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if someone else just looked after me and told me what to do? Yeah. There are millions and millions and millions of people in every population who just want to be told what to do. Yeah. They really, that's very comforting as a thought for them. So it's not that there's a huge population who hate this idea of being controlled. There are many people who love the idea of being controlled. That gives them a lot of reassurance. Yeah. When we are at the top 10% looking up at the WEF, we sit there and go, you evil bastards, leave me alone, get out of my life. When they're looking down, they're seeing the vast pyramid of people who you and I never really think about very often, because we're looking up at them saying, stop messing with everything. But they're looking at this huge thing going, oh, well, actually, we're trying to create a system for like all of these people. Wouldn't it be easy if we just controlled the money? And wouldn't it be easy if we just opened up this? And let's open up the borders so that we just mix all humans together. And then that way we move faster towards a one human race. Let's control the currency so we can get rid of things that are not productive towards society. Right. So they're trying, I imagine they're trying to create what they think is a better world, but they're just approaching it wrong. They just don't understand the power that centralized decision-making just has never worked.
Never.
Right? It's, even though it's a strong inclination, it feels so reassuring to just centralize power, but we just need to keep coming back to, it feels good to centralize.
It sounds good.
It sounds good in theory, but it never works. No. You have to treat individuals as individuals, let them run their own life. Some are going to succeed, some are going to fail, but that's how we get innovation. That's how we've always marched forward. You can't control everyone and everything. Some people will make decisions that you wouldn't make, but ultimately we have to let people get on.
So Daniel, what's your advice? What do you say to the Dutch entrepreneurs that are seeing this centralization of power right now? Also the enforcement of, like, we don't need to go, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but the enforcement of the woke ideology. They're seeing all that. They're understanding what you're saying right now, but they feel like this country, to make a profit, it's becoming more and more difficult. In 2 years, if there's a digital currency, I might not want to live here anymore. The darkness is entering their vision, maybe. What's your advice?
Well, for starters, recognize how powerful you are as an individual, right? As an entrepreneur, you don't have a boss. You don't have a HR department. So you have a voice. So you need to be one of the brave people who use your voice. But don't use your voice as like a hysterical, whinging, crazy person. Use your voice to say, I don't agree with that. Right? That's not how I see the world. use your voice to say, I actually think we'd be better off with decentralized power. Let people run their race. Very sane, very rational, very logical. This is how it's going to be. And also use your voice to say, if that's how the economy runs, then I won't participate in that. I'll have to move somewhere else. I'm not getting emotional. It's just if that's the board game, I'm not playing that board game. I'm going to go to Dubai, or I'm going to go to somewhere else. I'll move to Vanuatu if I have to. Costa Rica, right? So you're just being very matter of fact that as an entrepreneur and value creator, I'm not going to play with those kind of games. Talk about it, let people know, because they're all in there. The WEF people are all in their own echo chamber. They think everyone smart agrees with them. They really do. They really think that anyone who disagrees, they can't believe it.
Yeah.
Right. So they need to hear it from a few different angles that actually smart, talented, amazing entrepreneurs who create value don't like this.
Yeah. So again, we end with that what we started with, agency.
Agency.
You've got more power. Don't give your power away.
No, don't give your power away. When you label them as conspiracy theory, like when you label them as like they're just a bunch of idiots. If you meet these people, they're no different they're not that much cleverer and that much smarter. They're mostly trust fund babies. They're mostly born into rich families. They're mostly people who have gone to elite universities and they're completely out of touch with actual what it takes to create value on your own anyway. And they're mostly in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Right? They're high IQ, but they're not like I spend time with people who are like massively on the WEF side of things. They're not that smart, and they're also not closed. They're not as closed-minded as you think either. They're actually at an individual level. They are open to conversations about. I had a conversation the other day with a very, very, very powerful person who's very pro. WEF type agenda. And we were talking about what do you think are the real reasons people are voting Trump? Why do so many people do it? And he started with all the labeling. I said, okay, you're smart enough. I said, you're smart enough to know that couldn't possibly be half the country, right? There must be issues that are not being addressed. There must be issues that he's talking about that are important, that if you don't live in a big house in a gated community, if your mortgage isn't paid off, if all of those things are different for you, there must be some issues that are being addressed on that side, but not that side, right? Why don't you stop with the labels and think about what are the issues that they care about and why would they care about those things, right? And sure enough, he starts coming around. He starts seeing things, but it just takes he's in an echo bubble.
Yeah. Higher common ground. So that's the slogan of Code 49.
Yeah. Find the common ground. Remind people that centralized power has never worked, just doesn't work. And acknowledge that it sounds good.
Yeah.
Acknowledge that it sounds reassuring. It feels good.
Yeah. And remember yourself of your power.
Yeah. And also acknowledge that some people probably should be controlled.
Yeah.
Right? So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are some people in society who probably do need babying. Yeah. They probably do need a nanny state, right? Because technology has shifted the bar so high as to who gets to create value in this world. There are plenty of people who would have happily been farm workers. They would have happily been, laborers. They would have happily been miners working down a mine. They would have worked in very labor-intensive jobs and done that their entire career. But we've automated those jobs. So then they're completely lost, and they're certainly not going to be becoming brain surgeons and, civil engineers and software developers anytime soon. So there is a huge 15% of the population has an IQ less than 85.
Yeah.
So I also acknowledge that there are probably pockets of the population that need a huge amount of state support.
Yeah.
Especially if we automate another 30% of the economy.
And it will happen.
Right? And it will happen. So there are causes for, you don't just kind of just say, oh, well, go live on the streets. If someone has addictions or if they have problems or if they're a victim of crime or something like that, or they're being manipulated, there needs to be safety nets and all of that sort of stuff. So I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater, but we need to remember that for the vast majority of people, decentralized, live your own life is the only way, right? So anyway.
Truly the final question, Daniel. You can only write one more book. It will be your legacy. It's for entrepreneurs. What would be the title and the subtitle of that book?
Well, you put me on the spot there.
It's the last book that your son will read from you.
Look, I don't really think much about legacy. My dream is that my kids are so busy living their life that they don't look back, that they have no time to think, what does dad think, or what does, the way that I would measure a great legacy is like, if you take the definition, is to pass it forward, and that they spend no time thinking back. So I'm not trying to create a legacy. I really want my kids thinking about the future, not thinking about who their grandpa or great grandpa was. If I was to put a book together on this, there's a book that I want to write that is all about gaining more perspective on life, and it's actually a fiction book that I have been writing, and it's about gaining a new understanding of timelines, just how time works and how energy and time works over the course of your life. And it's a way of fictionalizing this concept of how we have this very brief moment on planet Earth, and how to make the most of the times that we're in.
How to make the most of the times we're in. I think that's a good title.
Maybe we'll go with that title as a working title.
Thank you so much, Danny.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks.
Hey, gefeliciteerd. Je hebt gewoon een heel podcast afgekeken. Je hoort tot een heel select gezelschap. Ik wil nog even 4 hele concrete tips aan je geven als je MKB-ondernemer bent en je wil meer winst met je bedrijf en je wil een beter leven. Ten eerste, klik op de like onder deze video. Ten tweede, subscribe als je dat nog niet hebt gedaan. Ten derde, plaats een comment. Iets grappigs of iets slims. Allebei is prima. En ten vierde, klik op de link in de beschrijving of als eerste pinned comment. En doe de intake voor CLUB49. Dan kom je een jaar lang hier op het landgoed. Ga je leren van mannen zoals onder andere Daniel Priestley, maar ook Paul Wilkers, Barrett Mintjes. Ik heb ook nog wel misschien het een en ander te vertellen over business en een beter leven. Je kan hier komen trainen. We maken een heel jaartraject op maat. Dus klik op de link hieronder. Alleen maar voor MKB-ondernemers minimale omzet 1 miljoen euro. Doe de intake en dan zie ik je snel hier op het landgoed. Maar ben je een jonge gast? Nou, dan helemaal respect als je tot hier bent gekomen. En ben je tussen de 18 en de 29 jaar, dan is het nieuwe lichting traject, wat we ook hier draaien, is wat voor jou. Ook die link voor de intake, voor de selectiedag, plaats ik onder in de video. Zie je bij de volgende.